Hi, this is Rishabh Sinha, and today in this video, I'm going to talk about Azure File Share, and we will implement a hands-on video in Azure File Share. So let's talk about what is Azure File Share. Azure File is a subservice underneath the storage service that is made available to us when we create a storage account. But in contrast to providing us an object-based storage solution like we have with Azure Blob, Azure Files provides us a fully managed Azure File Share service from a storage account in the Azure cloud. File storage offers shared storage for applications using the industry standard SMB protocol, and Microsoft Azure virtual machines and cloud services can share file data across application components via mountain shares. And on premise applications can also access file data in the share. Also, applications running in Azure virtual machines or cloud services can mount a file storage share to access file data, just as a typical desktop application would mount a typical SMB share. And any number of Azure virtual machines or rows can mount and access the file storage shares simultaneously. Um, let's and about the features of Azure File Share. It is a fully managed service. Azure File Shares can be created without the need to manage hardware or an operating system. This means you don't have to deal with patching the server OS with critical security upgrades or replacing faulty hard disks. And there's it has shared access, like Azure File Shares support the industry standard SMB and NFS protocols, meaning you can seamlessly replace your on-premise file shares with Azure File Shares without worrying about application compatibility. And being able to share a file system across multiple machines, or applications or instances is a significant advantage with Azure Files, for a application that needs shareability. Um, Another it has tools like PowerShell commandlets is there, Azure CLI is there, that can be used to create, mount, and manage Azure File Share as a part of administration of Azure application. And you can create and manage Azure File Shares using Azure Portal and Azure Storage Explorer also. It is resilient. Yes, Azure File has been built from ground up to the always up to be always available, and replacing on-premise file shares with Azure Files means you no longer have to wake up to deal with local power outages or network issues. So this diagram represents the different components that forms the Azure File Share. So here, well, Azure Files is a subservice of Azure Storage Account. Uh, like we have a file share, and a file share is the file structure like we are going to be connecting to when we actually map or connect to this file share. Inside this exist files and folder, and these exist inside of this file share that are going to be shared over the network using the file share. We could have multiple file shares created within the file service inside our Azure storage account. Uh, now, let's see some of the common uses of file storage solutions. Uh, So first one is replace and supplement. Yes, we can use Azure File Shares to completely replace or supplement our traditional on-premise file servers or NAS devices. It can be accessed from anywhere, like popular operating systems such as Windows, Mac OS, and Linux can directly mount Azure File Shares wherever they are in the world. Lift and shift, like Azure Files, makes it easy to lift and shift applications to the cloud that expect a file share to store file applications or user data. Another use case is like Azure File Share can be replicated with Azure File Sync to Windows Server, either on-premise or in the cloud, for performance and distributed caching of the data, like where it's being used. There's you can use this for storing shared application settings, for example, in configuration files. You can use it for storing diagnostic data such as logs, metrics, and crash dumps in a shared location. There are tools and utilities like you can use this Azure File Share for storing tools and utilities needed for developing or administering Azure virtual machines or cloud services. Uh, we have some different connectivity options available to us depending on whether we are accessing our file shares either internally or externally. In this context, accessing it internally or externally implies the Azure region where a storage account exists, where the file share exists. So the first one is internal connectivity. This implies that the clients accessing the file shares are within the Azure cloud itself. Here we have the ability to use REST SMB 2.1 and SMB 3.0 protocol. Another one is external connectivity, and in this scenario, the client machines accessing the file shares are located in different cloud environments or could also raise the it on premises. Here we only have the options of using REST and SMB 3.0. La- in this case, SMB 2.1 does not like it is not it is not available in external connectivity because it does not provide encryption, and which is required for connecting externally to ensure the safety of the data. So SMB 2.1 is not available in external connectivity. And in terms of security, data encrypted at rest by default within our storage account, and we have access to secure data transfer over HTTPS for data that is in transit, and this allows us to protect our data whether it is at rest or in transit inside of our Azure files. So to create a file share, we need to have a storage account already created. And if you're not familiar with the process of creating a storage account, you may please refer to my last video where I have demonstrated the creation of storage account as a prerequisite for provisioning blob storage. So let's get started.